Thanks, Chris. It was fantastic. I left my blue jacket up the top of the theatre. But great to hear about, I guess, some of the opportunities and the dynamics that are in play, especially in this commercial building sector. To continue on from that, I'd like to invite to the lectern Jack Noonan, who is the head of Asia Pacific at the International Wellbeing Institute. He serves the Asia Pacific market as Senior Vice President APAC for the International Wellbeing Institute. He's based in Melbourne, and his role involves leading the technical support, market development and operations across the Asia Pacific region. Jack, come on down.
Thank you, Mark, and good afternoon, everyone. Firstly, I want to thank and acknowledge Plum, Amy and the Safer Air Project for having me along here today. It is truly a privilege, and I just want to commend you on the work that you've been doing. It really is the stuff of superheroes, and I say that sincerely. I also want to say what a treat it is to present alongside Professor Chris Candido, one of my dear friends and collaborators for well over 10 years, and that's a timeline that goes beyond either of our current organisations, so it's always amazing to speak with Chris. As mentioned, my name is Jack Noonan. I often say that I have the best job in the world. As head of Asia Pacific for the International Wellbeing Institute, I get to see the best buildings, I get to see the best workplaces, the best educational facilities, I get to see the best venues, the best community centres all across the Asia Pacific region. And that is my job. That is what I get paid for, and I'm very, very privileged that I get to do that. I'm a scientist by training who has been a career advocate for better indoor air quality. I'm a long-time member of the International Society for Indoor Air Quality and Climate, ISIAC. Not quite as long as Lydia, but have been a member of ISIAC for the last 15 years. I'm the husband of a school teacher, the father of a 3-year-old son, and I'm also a long-suffering Carlton supporter. I'm also the son of a nurse who was a single mum, and this is my mum with my brother and I a couple of years ago. I share this photo because it's a reminder of why I do what I do. So you can see Mum's walking stick here. She actually retired early from her career because of the impact that her work was having on her health and well-being. Since leaving her career as a night shift nurse, she has had 2 knee replacements, 2 hip replacements, and is both a breast cancer and cervical cancer survivor. Now, she's currently living in residential aged care. My most impactful memory of my mum at work is visiting her when I had just acquired my driver's license. She worked at a very old rundown hospital in southeast Melbourne, thankfully no longer exists. I remember walking down the hallway, the flickering fluorescent lights, down a hallway with very, very clear signs of mould and water damage. You could hear screams of patients throughout the hospital. The acoustics just weren't really a thing. The air was incredibly stuffy in individual rooms. There were vending machines that my mum would have to eat from every night because there wasn't healthy food available. There was no ergonomic equipment to help her support her to do her job. And there was a clear absence of any mental health support whatsoever. And this was despite her coming home most mornings having lost a patient to either Huntington's disease or motor neuron disease. So this was someone who had dedicated her life to taking care of others, but ultimately her work didn't care for her. So seeing my mum struggle at work was long before I knew anything about what a healthy building could or should be, but looking back, it's become very, very obvious. So this is why I work for IWBI, or the International Wellbeing Institute. We have a mission to ensure that the built environment supports people's health and well-being. And I'm very, very proud of this particular statement, which was said by the 17th Surgeon General of the United States, Dr. Richard Carmona. Ultimately, what we're doing is we are advocating for every single building to embed healthy indoor air. You've heard the statistic a few times already, 90% of our time spent indoors. I like saying it in a slightly different way. The average Australian will spend 73 years of their lives indoors. So healthy indoor air is not optional, it's essential. And we at IWBI advocate that our built environment can be a form of preventative healthcare. So at IWI, we lead the WELL Standard. The WELL Standard is the world's largest certification platform for healthy buildings. We've now enrolled over 582 million square metres across 132 different countries, including more than 100,000 locations. To put that into context, when I started in 2018, we had about 1,500 projects in 24 countries. Here in Australia, and I think we need to update some of those stats from Lydia in terms of 0.03%, might need to be 0.05% now, but we have about 586 locations representing about 11.8 million square metres, demonstrating a really strong local commitment to healthier indoor environments. Importantly, this is no longer something that is exceptional. It is becoming normalised and it's becoming standard practice. It is being applied to existing buildings as much as it is to new developments or workspaces. Now, the WELL Standard itself is open access and it's available via our website. I would encourage you to have a look. There are 10 categories of the standard that address different themes of a healthy building, and air is just one of these. The air concept addresses more than 12 key aspects of indoor air quality, from ventilation design and air filtration to pollution management and microcontrol. Importantly, given the focus of today's session, this includes IAQ performance thresholds. And we also have another category focused on materials. So while I am presenting today on the benefits of healthy buildings and on the WELL Standard, this standard obviously goes quite deep into the topic of IAQ. I want to acknowledge the work of both the Green Building Council of Australia and NABERS, who have included credits and parameters around indoor air quality for close to 2 decades. Actually, more than 2 decades. This work has laid a foundation for the Australian commercial building industry to go further and embrace further innovation in this particular space. Furthermore, I think it's really important to say that NABERS, the GBCA and IWI work very practically and collaboratively together to create alignment as much as possible and to streamline the validation process for projects who are looking for those dual certifications. I'm really delighted that you'll hear from my friends Jorge and Ron from the GBCA and NABERS respectively as part of the panel conversation a little bit later. So I was actually asked to give a little bit more information on the business case of healthy buildings. And in recent years, there's been a really sharp increase in the amount of independent research on this topic that shows very clearly the positive impacts on people and performance. Sorry, the slides have come out a little bit funny, but QR code still applies here. So last month, IWI released a special report backed by over 225 independent studies, revealing the powerful business case that strategic investment in people drives significant economic returns. And this particular edition goes deeper into the international research that exists in this area from some of the world's leading academic institutions and professional associations, including right here in Australia, the University of Melbourne, the University of Sydney, UTS, UNSW, and the University of Wollongong. And this opportunity of focusing on employee health and wellbeing is something that can be truly significant globally if we give it the same collective effort that we have done with other issues. McKinsey Health here, you can see, estimating that it can lead to trillions of dollars of economic value and a 12% increase in global GDP. But even though I've met a few economists today, not all of us are economists. So the first insight that I want to share might actually be quite an obvious one, but I think it's a very important one. So people want to be in and they want to work in healthy spaces. They feel better and they perform better. They also have a greater sense of pride in their workplace. They're not just happier to bring their clients into their workspace, but they're even happy to bring their family and their friends into the office. Closer to home, at least my home in Melbourne, is a powerful example. And I want to acknowledge, hopefully he's watching online, Ken Fong, who his flight got cancelled this morning, but he was fundamental to this particular case study. So Arrett's Melbourne workplace is quite honestly one of my favourite workplaces across Asia Pacific. It's World Platinum certified, the highest award from IWI. But importantly, it shows tangible financial benefits. 83% of new hires said that health and wellbeing strategies influenced their decision to join the organisation. saving around $75,000 per recruitment cycle. Most importantly, increases in productivity and retention delivered an annual economic return of $600,000 in just 15 months. That's really clear ROI from this Arup case study. Another local example comes from Charter Hall, one of Australia's largest real estate companies, who have made really significant commitments to both Well, Green Star and neighbours over the last 10 years. They do so to satisfy both investor demands but also tenant expectations. One of the interesting things about this particular quote is that it comes from their chief experience officer. It's not somebody within their sustainability team, it's not somebody within their engineering team, it's the chief experience officer. And this sentiment from Natalie is actually backed up by the research. MIT's Centre for Real Estate Research found that independently certified healthy spaces secured lease terms that were over a year longer on average, making them stronger investments. Now, Arup and Charter Hall are large, highly established organisations in a developed and thriving economy. What about older buildings in locations that don't have the benefits of cleaner or relatively cleaner air and water? So I'm actually going to be in Manila next week. I'm flying over to Manila on Sunday. And Neo Properties in the Philippines proves that aging buildings can thrive by focusing on indoor air quality, health and sustainability. In a very competitive Manila office market, they only took 6 months to release vacated spaces, and 1 in 4 new tenants committed to a 10-year lease. This is well beyond the market standards. Now, Raymond Rufino, who I'll be spending some time with next week, he also happens to be the chairman of the Filipino Green Building Council. He says that buildings that prioritise health, safety and well-being are setting a new benchmark for responsible real estate. So I think responsible real estate is a really interesting term. So you've already seen little snippets of this particular research from Professor Candido. But I think what's also important from this particular study that Chris didn't mention is that this particular study went beyond just the dollars and cents of the ROI. People reported that they felt healthier in the verified healthier spaces compared to the non-verified but still high-performing spaces. They reported less musculoskeletal issues, less sick building syndrome conditions, less mental health issues. Now, as building practitioners, this is why we do what we do. We are agents of public health, whether we like it or not, and we have a responsibility to drive better health outcomes within real estate. Contribute to that responsible real estate sector, so to speak. So let me show you how research translates into practice with a couple more examples. Colliers has embedded these practices into their own operations as well as supporting their clients. Their Warsaw office applied well strategies, providing more than 30% more fresh air than what was required, and this yielded about a $7,500 improvement in productivity per person. Now, they didn't just do this for the ROI, but they did it because it was an employee expectation to have great indoor air quality. They also listened to the feedback of the occupants and made adjustments over time. A similar approach, focusing on indoor air quality, that I wanted to share was BCCI, a large construction company in San Francisco, which achieved 90% employee satisfaction with indoor air quality and improved cognitive performance through air quality monitoring, filtration, purification, and importantly, educating the occupants on some of these interventions as well. Now, the final thing that I wanted to mention is that a while back, somebody much smarter than me told me that when the money starts to move, people move. And institutional investors, I think Jorge can talk a lot more about this than what I can, but institutional investors view health and well-being, including indoor air quality, as significant to their investments. They recognise that a company's ability to navigate ESG issues, and really uniquely, IAQ falls in both the E and the S buckets, directly impacts financial performance. Now, a great example of this was Capital Land Development. sorry, the text is all over the place. No, that's okay. I'm happy to share these slides afterwards. But a really good example of this was Capital Land Development, who are headquartered in Singapore, but also have a number of assets across Australia too. A couple of years ago, they secured a groundbreaking sustainability-linked loan totaling $600 million. But this was tied to the need for that development to be both a green and a healthy building that was verified by voluntary international standards. Now, this demonstrates that healthy buildings are valued by the financial sector, not just good for people. And I really would say that the Asia Pacific market really leads the world for these types of examples. So the research is very clear. If you didn't get the QR code before because I went too fast, you can see that there is a link here. There is really compelling evidence around this particular relationship between health and well-being and financial performance and ROI. This research continues to evolve and more research studies are becoming available. I've also included the QR code again here if you didn't catch it before. Now, let me just finish by saying that we have recently launched a new global effort focusing on driving IAQ action across the globe and utilising experiences from various countries and jurisdictions in a community of practice type model. Professor Lydia Maraska and Plum Stone have been selected as 2 of just 8 global chairs globally, and we have over 150 commissioners, including some of you in the room today. I want to thank you all for what you do, and please follow the QR code and this page for more information and if you're interested in learning more. I think it's very early days, but I'm very confident that this particular initiative can really drive some significant action and reform in this particular sector. So thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the panel conversation. And like I said, feel very grateful to have been here. Thank you.